Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Municipal Pension Plan Year in Review 2025. Thank you for joining us today. I am Gary Yee, Chair of the Board of Trustees. The theme for today is the journey to retirement. This journey requires careful planning and preparation. Today, we will share how the plan is preparing our members for retirement. It is with gratitude that I acknowledge that we are hosting this event on the traditional territories of the Algonquin people, also known as the Songhe and Esquimalt First Nations communities. We acknowledge and give thanks to their stewardship, care, and leadership on these lands. As we gather today for our annual meeting, this is an opportunity for me to reflect on the road we have traveled over this past year. In our presentations, you will hear some highlights of this year and how the board governs to ensure plan success. This meeting is for you, whether you're a member, a current employer, or an employer looking to join the Municipal Pension Plan. Our message is simple. You can depend on the Municipal Pension Plan. We've been on this journey for over 85 years, making decisions in the best interest of members. We're here for each of our members throughout their pension journey, whether they are beginning their careers, well into the work life, preparing for retirement, or already retired. You will see this theme throughout the meeting. Each of you does work that makes your community a better place. We, as the plan board, recognize that it continues to inspire us to work hard on your behalf. Now we have a short video to take you on a quick trip with the plan. So sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Members of the Municipal Pension Plan all begin their journeys here in British Columbia, contributing to the province. From rugged shorelines and rainforest trails to dry deserts and jagged peaks, BC is as beautiful as it is vast and home to the people who keep it running. Since 1939, the Municipal Pension Plan has helped hard-working British Columbians build a secure, more comfortable retirement. Today, nearly 1 in 10 working-age British Columbians are Municipal Pension Plan members, employed by almost 1,000 organizations across the province. Our members are as diverse as BC itself, from first responders protecting our communities, to nurses and social service workers caring for others, from city and regional workers building our neighborhoods, to school and college staff shaping future generations. With tens of billions in assets, the Municipal Pension Plan is the largest pension plan in British Columbia. In 2024 alone, the plan paid out almost $3 billion in pensions. Built to last, the Municipal Pension Plan is well managed, fully funded, and growing. Around 500,000 members, representing almost 1,000 employers and new members, are joining us all the time. Each and every member can feel proud to be part of such a strong and solid pension plan. Employers offering the Municipal Pension Plan are providing safety and security to their employees. Municipal Pension Plan is more than a pension. It's financial security. It's a promise. A path to a successful future for members and employers. A secure tomorrow, earned today.
Thanks for watching. We can all be proud to be part of the Municipal Pension Plan. You will see on the screen what is coming up today. We have presentations from our trustees, executive director, and the CEO and CIO of BCI. In keeping with our retirement journey theme, I asked each of our presenters to share with you their favorite trail in the province. Now please welcome our Vice Chair, Donna Lommer, to give us the highlights of last fiscal year. Welcome, Donna.
Thank you, Gary. I'm honored to serve this year as the Vice Chair of the Board and to have served as the Chair during the 2024 fiscal year. I'm retired and grateful every day for the diligent care our trustees have provided over the years so that I can rely on my pension for life. I recognize, honor, and respect the Silks Okanagan lands upon which I live and hike. My favorite trail is in my neighborhood of Weldon in Kelowna. Our plan logo is a mountain, and that's an apt image because as a pension plan, we are standing strong. As of December 31st, 2024, the plan had $86.9 billion in net assets, an increase of almost 13% from 2023. While we paid out $2.9 billion to members and beneficiaries last year, we saw strong investment returns despite a challenging market. That resulted in almost $10 billion in investment revenues. That is why our net assets have increased from the $77 billion we had at the end of 2023. Our job as trustees is to prepare for risks and uncertainties, such as economic and demographic challenges that affected our latest valuation. You will hear more about that in the next presentation. We carefully oversee BCI's management of investments. We have members at all stages of their career, and we need to take a very long-term view to ensure we can deliver pensions when you need them. As the plan's appointee to the BCI board, I am deeply aware how BCI is accountable and committed to its clients. It's important to look at how the plan performs over time relative to our funding goals. Our investment return of 12.4% in 2024 was well over our actuarial return objective of 6.25%. Also on this slide, you will see that our 5-year annualized rate was 7.8% and our 10-year annualized rate was 7.9%. Both rates outpace the rate of return we expect, keeping your funds secure. Even though the plan is in a good position, we know that recent market uncertainties are a concern for many of you. I want to reassure you, we build the plan for the long road ahead. There are 3 ways the plan is built for times like these. First, we have good liquidity in the fund that we can turn into cash to meet the pension obligations now and into the future. That means our investment manager isn't forced to sell assets unless it is the right time. Second, our investment strategy is long-term and diversified. The portfolio is built for a variety of market conditions. That means we can absorb short-term shocks. Third, we have a long history of navigating downturns. Some of you may remember the 2008 stock market crash and the uncertainty we faced during the COVID pandemic. The plan weathered these difficulties because of good planning. Gordon from BCI will comment further on how we are continuing to prepare for uncertainty. That is a very high-level overview of the plan. The take-home message is that the plan is in a secure position. I would encourage anyone interested in the details of the plan's finances to read the 2024 annual report available on the plan website. Thank you for listening. I'll turn it back to Gary now.
Thank you, Donna, for giving us that overview of the plan's funding. Every 3 years, we take a special measure of the plan's health. For the results of the most recent actuarial valuation, I would turn to Glen Brown. Glen chairs our valuation committee. Welcome, Glen.
Thank you, Gary. I'm very happy to be here today. And in keeping with the theme of the meeting, my favorite hike is the Nooka Trail on Nook Island off the west coast of BC. But now on to business. Last month, the board received and accepted the latest report on the plan's funding status. In this presentation, I will share the highlights of that valuation measured between January 1st, 2022 and December 31st of 2024. I am pleased to tell you that the valuation shows that the plan remains on the right path for the future. The results help us understand financial health of the plan and make informed decisions. The valuation report found that the plan is 102.8% funded. We have a surplus of $2.67 billion, and we require $3.74 billion to maintain current contribution rates over the next 3 years. Our joint trust agreement says a surplus must first be used to maintain the current contribution rates. While we have a surplus, it is not large enough alone to maintain contribution rates at their current level. Fortunately, we have a rate stabilization account built for this very purpose. The board created this account in 2016, and the funds have been set aside since then to help limit future increases in contribution rates. So with this valuation, we have transferred $1.06 billion from that account to get us to the required total of $3.74 billion. This is the first time we have had to draw from the rate stabilization account, and it retains a healthy balance of over $3.5 billion. This foresight shows how the board acts to meet its funding goals. The first goal is benefit security. This means setting aside sufficient funds for every member. The second goal is to keep contribution rates stable. This means providing security and steadiness so that employers and members can plan ahead. We have not had to increase contribution rates because of a shortfall since 2014. The last result I will talk about is what the valuation report says about the inflation adjustment account. The actuary's review of this account guides us in setting the maximum cost of living adjustment for the next 3 years. COLA keeps your pension growing over time and help keep pace with the cost of living. COLAs are a board priority, but are not a guaranteed benefit of the plan. However, every COLA you receive becomes a permanent part of your lifetime pension. In this slide, you will see how a $20,000 pension that started in 2004 has grown over the last 20 years as the result of COLA increases. Based on the recommendations of our actuary and following our funding policy, the board is applying a COLA cap. For the next 3 years, starting January 1st, 2026, COLA will be the Consumer Price Index, or 2.1%, whichever is less. A COLA cap helps ensure fairness across generations and supports the plan's ability to make inflation adjustments available over the long term. As we always do, the board will announce the coming year's COLA in December. Each year, the board monitors the annual September to September change in CPI, the health of the inflation adjustment account, and the application of the COLA cap as required. When provided, COLA takes effect in January and applies to your lifetime pension. The COLA also applies to any bridge benefit and any temporary annuity while you are receiving them. In closing, we are pleased this valuation reflects the continued financial stability of the plan. Every valuation provides valuable data to the board as it looks towards the future. Back over to you, Gary.
Glen, thank you for sharing the results of the valuation. Now we would turn to a different topic. Our Executive Director, Chelsea Kittleson, is here with an update on the board's strategic plan. Welcome, Chelsea.
Thank you, Gary. Let me first say how incredibly proud I am to work for a plan that has been providing British Columbians with a secure retirement income for over 85 years. In this time, the plan has positioned itself as a leader in Canada for pension plan design, governance, and the value it provides to members and employers. We strive every day to make sure members can count on their plan to be successful for the long term. One of the ways we ensure the plan's security and success is by creating and implementing on a strategic plan. This planning plays an important role in helping us make critical decisions and implement actions that will shape the future of the plan. This essential planning process is undertaken by the board every 3 years, ensuring that the actions we take fulfill our commitment to current and future retirees. Our current strategy is focused on 3 objectives. They are 1, continue to strengthen plan awareness, 2, be a leading responsible investor, and 3, gain advantage with size. We are now over 2 years into our current strategic plan, and we are on track with our initiatives. One of those initiatives is actively expanding membership to eligible BC employers. If you are interested and wondering if you are an eligible employer, please reach out to our team. Offering a defined benefit pension to more British Columbians means more people have a secure source of retirement income. Plan growth also helps ensure the plan's sustainability for all. Our pension plan is making economic contributions where we live. Pension income not only supports retirees, but also fuels local businesses, sustains jobs, and bolsters the overall provincial economy, benefiting everyone in your community. Today, I've been inspired listening to how our presenters enjoy the beauty of our province. My favorite trail is Cobble Hill right here on Vancouver Island, and I try to get out there as often as I can on the weekends. As I look to the future, I know we will continue to adapt our journey. This will ensure each strategy stays relevant and provides us with a map to success for years to come. I'll now turn it back to Gary.
As a member of the board, I can testify to how important it is to keep an eye on the journey ahead. Thank you, Chelsea, for keeping us on course. Now joining us is Gordon Fyfe, the Chief Executive Officer and Chief Investment Officer for BCI, the plan's investment agent. Welcome, Gordon. We're glad you're here to help us understand what is going on in the markets.
Thank you, Gary. And those of you out there have submitted a lot of questions to us this morning, which we really appreciate. However, there's too many questions for me to address individually. So what we've done is collected your questions into 4 sections, and I'm going to respond to them individually. And the first question, or area of questions, is global economic activity and key risks to the plan's fund. Your $86 billion municipal pension plan is in a very strong position today, and it's in a position to withstand the volatility that we may be seeing, and I expect we'll see sometime in the future. In fact, in the last year, your fund added $9.9 billion to its assets. That's in the calendar year of 2024. And because of the decisions your trustees made over the past 10 years, they've positioned your fund for the success that your plan is now experiencing. Last year alone, the fund generated a return of 12.4%. If we take a little bit longer time period, let's look at 10 years, which is important, the longer term numbers. The fund generated a return on average of 7.9% per year. Now we compare that 7.9 to the actuarial hurdle rate. That's the rate at which everything balances out, which is 6.5%. So when we're generating a return of more than 6.5% over the long term, we're building up a surplus in the plan. So today we've been able to put aside a surplus, but I always say don't spend the surplus because we have not had a real correction in markets since the end of the last financial crisis in March of 2009. And we're overdue for some sort of a correction sometime in the future. So that surplus is going to buffer the fund against the downturn that's going to come in the markets. Now let me turn to the economies and the markets. The past year, despite all of the geopolitical volatility, we had very strong financial markets. In the US, very big positives were things like hoping for lower inflation, lower interest rates, lower taxes. There's been a lot of enthusiasm around artificial intelligence. A lot of capital has been invested in artificial intelligence and in data warehouses, which are really supporting the economy, and also the hope that this artificial intelligence is going to create all kinds of efficiencies in companies and make them significantly more profitable. However, that's got to be offset against some of the negatives that we're experiencing, which is first, and perhaps one of the most important, is the rise of the risks of debt and deficits at the government level. Governments in the developed world are all running very large deficits and have increasingly accumulated debt outstanding, and this is going to start to put pressure on interest rates. The other areas of concern are the policy volatility. One day we have tariffs, the next day the tariffs come off, and other sorts of volatility. We've got a trade war, we've got inflation threats from what the tariffs are actually going to do, and we've got real war going on as well. The biggest risk, though, for a fund like ours is stagflation. And what stagflation is, it's a combination of stagnation of the economy, so the economy is not growing very fast, and inflation. Now, stagnation is not good for the equity markets because the companies are not growing their profits as fast because the economy's slowed right down. And inflation is just bad for bonds because their fixed nature of the payments that they make. So You're lucky though, your trustees have been increasing the allocations to inflation-sensitive assets over these past 10 years, and they've been moving their assets into things like infrastructure, which have inflation-sensitive revenues, into floating rate mortgages and private debts, for example. So the fund is well positioned for this scenario, even if it does happen. In conclusion, though, I think we can expect more volatility in the markets and in the economies in the next year to 2 years. But again, I want to reassure you that the municipal pension plan is well positioned to take advantage of this volatility, and I'll address that more in just a moment. So that's the first question. The second question is around investment strategy and diversification. And diversification to the municipal pension plan means that during the last 10 years, we are less exposed today than we were to both public equities and to Canada. Now, I'm going to address first the move out of public equities. The liabilities in this pension plan, they're very, very long term. You start working, you start contributing to your pension plan, but you're not actually going to get anything out of that for 25, 35 years until you retire. And so we don't need to have instant liquidity like you would have in a public stock. So we can invest in more long-term assets, which typically give you a higher return because of the risk premiums related to that illiquidity. And so what we have done is we have reduced public equities overall from 40% to 22%. And we've reallocated that capital into things like private equity, infrastructure, real estate, credit, and mortgages, all private assets, illiquid, but that do typically generate higher returns than the public area. Now, next I'll turn to Canada. And listen, we love Canada, but Canada is 2% of the global economy. It's about 3% of the global stock markets. So the opportunities in Canada are about 2 to 3% of the opportunities in the world. At the same time, as Canada's weighting in the world has been shrinking because of the emergence of China and other countries like India, the pools of capital in Canada have grown quite a bit. 26 years ago, BCI didn't exist. CPP, the Canada Pension Plan, didn't exist. The PSP, the Public Sector Pension Plan, didn't exist. Today, CPP alone is $800 billion. So as the size of the Canadian economy has shrunk relative to the world, the opportunities are getting more and more competitive because there's more capital in Canada. However, let me saying that, BCI still has 38% of its capital invested in Canada. We have $111 billion invested in Canada. That is the largest dollar figure ever invested in Canada for our organization. We have been diversifying, as I said, in percentage terms outside of Canada. We've invested in things like real estate, mortgages in US and Europe. In infrastructure, we've moved money into Asia and Europe, for example. We've also opened offices in New York City, London, and in Mumbai, and our real estate company, Quadreal, in addition to offices in New York and London, have offices in Tokyo, Hong Kong, and Los Angeles. The last thing I want to mention in terms of strategy is around our liquidity management. What that means is we're very careful to make sure that we're never going to be in a position where we need cash and we have to sell an asset to get cash and raise cash at a time other than our choosing, because that's when you really get hurt, is when you have to sell an asset in the midst of a crisis. And so we manage our liquidity very, very carefully, and we will not be forced to sell an asset during a crisis. And in fact, what we'll do is we'll have the ability to go and take advantage of others who are in a crisis and buy their assets, hopefully quite cheaply. That was the second question. And now for the third question, which was a question around investing in defense companies. BCI has a less than 1.4% of its assets invested in aerospace and defense companies. These are companies like Boeing, General Electric, Bombardier, and Rolls-Royce. It's often large, diversified companies with a defense division inside of a much larger company. But I want to make clear that BCI adheres to all legislation and international treaties where there are sanctions against companies, and we follow those and we do obey them. But we do assess and monitor the ESG factors. That would be environmental, social, and governance factors. At the company level, we don't exclude broad value-based sectors. We will look at things on a company-by-company basis. And let's not forget that Canada itself is under threat. First of all, from the US, how many times have we been referred to in Washington as the 51st state? Russia is threatening sometimes to put a flotilla into the Arctic. And so the defense industry has grown significantly. In 2024, it was up 10% from 2023 to $2.7 trillion. So it is a growing sector. And defense, honestly, is more important today than it has been in probably the last 40 or 50 years. And finally, I have a question on fossil fuel investments. And that's interesting because I was asked recently by a client, why do we remain at BCI committed to ESG and particularly environmental considerations despite all of the headwinds? And what the client was referring to is recently CPP and a number of the banks have stepped back from their commitment to a net zero future, and they've removed those. But I want to say that BCI and its management team has never made a commitment that we couldn't keep and that we wouldn't deliver on. And also, I can say clearly we have not received any resistance, and we remain totally committed to investing where we see satisfactory ESG practices. And also, if we're not seeing them in the companies that we're invested in, we will advocate for change actively and vocally. Last year alone, we held 176 meetings with public and private companies advocating for change within the company, and we voted 2,225 proxies in the public companies that we own. All again, I'm going to say this has never been because of pressure or a fad. This was a commitment that the organization has made. We've now reached $6 billion participation in sustainable bonds. And our total exposure to climate-related opportunities is now over $12 billion. So it's not only about getting out of climate problems, but it's also investing in climate opportunities. So over $12 billion invested in climate-related opportunities. And the carbon footprint of the fund has fallen 56% since just 2019. And finally, a perfect score we received in the second consecutive year from the Global Sovereign Wealth Fund publication in its Governance, Sustainability and Resilience Scoreboard. If you want to read more about our activities in ESG, please look up our stewardship report. It's the second annual stewardship report. It's available on our website, and it was released just last September. We'll provide you with more reports on the programs and progress that we've been making. But I want to remind everyone that BCI has a legislative duty to act in the best financial interests of our clients. And we do believe that engaging with the companies and using our capital is a much more effective way to bring about change than to sell this company and to run away and close our eyes. Now listen, I've seen the fires and I've seen the floods as well, and I've seen the shift from a climate concern to energy concern and energy security. And this all started to come about with the Ukraine war. We had Europeans worrying about freezing if energy was to be cut off from Russia. The International Energy Agency in 2021 said that the peak oil that we had hit in 2019, just prior to COVID, needed to be maintained if we hoped to reach a net zero future. Well, today we're far above that 2019 peak, and the IEA is in fact forecasting that the peak will now be reached sometime in 2030, and I've just heard that they're actually working on forecasts for peak oil to only be reached in 2040. And there are things that we can do. Electrify the automobile industry in Canada. We could all be driving electric cars, but instead we've decided to put a 100% tariff on Chinese electric cars. In the UK, they curtailed permits to explore for oil and gas in the North Sea. They didn't reduce the consumption of oil and gas. All they did is started increasing their imports from Qatar and from Norway. And if we export our gas to replace dirtier oil and coal, is that necessarily a bad thing? So And the final thing I'll say is that if we look at the Exxon, for example, Imperial Oil, Suncor, over the last 5 years, these stocks are up between 250 and 650%. That compares to the US stock market, which is up just over 100%, and the Canadian stock market, which is up just between 80 and 90%. So this is not a simple sell and walk away. BCI and its trustees have the responsibility to follow the legislation, but we can use our capital to affect change and to make a difference. Thank you very much.
Gordon, we are glad to have those insights and reassurances about the plan's investment strategy. I would like to share some of the initiatives we are working on in the near term. We are hard at work on our next board strategy. The current strategy that Chelsea talked about ends in 2026, and we are developing the strategy for 2027 to 2029. We are also continuing to develop our plan expansion program. As we look ahead, we as a board are excited about how the plan is growing its membership. All of this is so that you can depend on the plan. Thank you for joining us today. We appreciate the interest in the Municipal Pension Plan.